The argument with Boswell Seong starts over the simple fact that Jinshu refuses to work unpaid overtime. Seong snaps that everyone else is doing it, so why should Jinshu be so special? When he refuses, Seong yells that his resignation is already signed, fining him 1,000 on the spot. Jinshu answers calmly that if Seong wants overtime, he can actually pay for it. There is no reason to work for free. Seong slaps on another 2,000 fine for talking back, and by the end of the argument, Jinshu has been voluntarily resigned by his own boss, his salary withheld under cheap pretexts, and accused of breach of contract on top of it. When he pulls up the photo of his original contract, he sees that the amount the boss is demanding in damages is several times what they actually agreed. It is blatant robbery in broad daylight. Honestly, how do they get away with this? Jinshu has no clue how a factory boss gets the insane confidence to behave like this. Meet Jinshu, an orphan with 0 friends, working just to survive with absolutely nothing to his name but a tiny paycheck that does not even exist anymore. Boswell Seong sneers as he leaves, saying if he does not want the job, plenty of others will take it. It is past 7 in the evening when he finally climbs the stairs to his cramped rental apartment. The streets outside the complex are still bustling, but he shuts himself in to scroll job listings for the city center on his phone. The evening news plays beside him. The anchor reports that astronomers have spotted a massive number of unidentified celestial bodies that might crash into the blue star in the coming days. These objects are incredibly numerous but individually quite small. Most of them should not be able to penetrate the atmosphere at all. For safety's sake, anyone who sees meteors streaking across the sky is told to find shelter instead of making wishes, keeping themselves safe first. Jinshu sighs, muttering quietly to himself that if only meteors could actually grant wishes before giving up on the fantasy to go back to job ads, because no matter what, he must secure food and shelter first. Right now, he cannot even think about suing. If he delays a few more days, he will literally be eating dirt. He makes a cup of instant coffee, takes a few sips, and then the loud pounding starts, thumping music and kids laughing, all of it shaking the ceiling from the apartment. Upstairs, every single night at this time, the bratty kid and his parents blast their music and smash things on the floor until they tire themselves out late into the night. Neighbors have gone up to reason with them countless times, only to be completely rebuffed with the usual excuses that he is just a child, asking how old he is versus how old you are. No matter how patiently people try to reason, the family remains completely stubborn. The boy, seeing his parents defend him, hides behind them, making nasty faces at whoever comes to complain with a smug expression that says, yes, he is making noise, so what are you going to do about it? Not only that, he holds grudges against every neighbor who has ever complained and causes them endless trouble in return. When families are out, he urinates on their doormats, smears excrement on their doorknobs, and fills the entire hallway with a horrific stench. When anyone reports this to his parents, they refuse to admit fault, arrogantly countering that since only those specific neighbors complained, the management claimed the problem was them. When anyone tries to take it to property management, they find out the staff are relatives who instantly side with the noisy family. Talk about a dead end. Everyone who could afford to leave has already moved out. Absolutely disgusted by the situation, he is the only one left because he is totally broke. Moving costs money he does not have. He is struggling financially, now stuck with awful neighbors. It is an incredibly frustrating setup, the only saving grace in this nightmare. Whenever others went upstairs to argue, he just watched from a distance. That kept him off the bratty kid's radar, saving him from direct harassment. Still, the constant thumping ruins his appetite. His coffee goes cold in his hand. He is powerless because that family is protected by powerful local connections. Let's face it, without backing or a wealthy network in this harsh world, Finding a decent job is almost impossible, especially for a struggling orphan like him. Setting the mug down, he walks over to open the window, watching the passing cars. He lets out a quiet sigh as the cool night breeze hits his face. He braces himself for another sleepless night, but then something impossible happens. A bizarre green light flashes across the distant sky, making him mutter in confusion. He leans out of the window, transfixed by the strange, unnatural glow. Before he can even blink, the green light shoots directly toward him. It swallows the entire city center, rapidly expanding in every direction. The eerie glow pierces straight through concrete walls, exposing everyone. Drenched in this green radiance, a sudden, searing heat surges through his veins. His breath catches, his heart thumps like crazy as his muscles scream in agony. It feels like his entire body is ripping apart. Upstairs, the noisy stamping suddenly stops. Now only muffled groans and heavy bodies hitting the floor echo from above. Outside, the screech of tearing metal and shattering glass fills the night. Loud alarms go off everywhere as he collapses hard onto the floor. Mouth wide open, he gasps desperately for air, completely overwhelmed by the pain. He cannot even squeeze out a single scream, he just clutches his chest weakly. Forcing himself up on his trembling hands, he desperately tries to crawl forward. He needs to reach his phone on the table to call for help, but he has no idea that everyone across the city is suffering through the exact same nightmare. People are collapsing in the streets, their bodies twitching in violent spasms. Black veins pop out as eyes roll back. Still, he cannot reach his phone. Darkness takes him as he loses consciousness. Soon, the green glow fades away. The night sky returns to normal, but the world is changed forever. Dozens of crashed cars litter the streets, crushed flat under massive trucks. Raging fires break out everywhere, trapping helpless drivers inside the burning wreckage. Many are burned alive. Meanwhile, those who lay convulsing in the streets begin to stand back up, but their eyes are completely dead and blank. Dark veins pulse beneath their pale skin as they spew black blood. They let out terrifying, inhuman roars. These people are no longer human. They have become real-life zombies. The monsters spot the helpless bodies on the ground, crawling with survivors who are either unconscious or still twitching in pain. Lurching forward, the beasts pounce, tearing raw flesh with their teeth. The scene quickly turns extremely bloody as more people transform into zombies under that strange green light, joining the horrific horde. Every single street soon fills with the agonizing sound of chewing. The next night, colorful flashing meteors begin to streak across. They fall all over the world, painting the sky with chaos. Above the city center where he lives, countless meteors light up. Among them, 3 shine brightest, one falling right in the center. Another meteor crashes into the nearby mountains with a silent impact, while the third one heads straight for his apartment building. It slips right through the window and lands precisely inside his room. Surprisingly, there is no explosion when the mysterious meteor finally touches down. It somehow loses all momentum, settling incredibly gently onto the floor, almost as if placed with care, revealing a smooth, rounded meteorite. After settling, the smooth stone immediately begins to develop deep cracks. A sharp snapping sound reveals what has been hidden inside this meteor. It is a black and white egg, patterned like an ink painting. The strange egg stands quietly right beside his unconscious body. Yet he shows absolutely none of the terrifying signs of those infected outside. His skin is not blackening, and his eyes are not rolling back. He remains completely normal, completely untouched by the horrific changes. Soon dawn slowly breaks, bringing light to a very silent world. Eventually, he slowly regains consciousness and opens his hazy eyes. He struggles to his feet, coughing and gasping deeply for breath. He wonders aloud how long he was out, then plugs his phone into the charger. Turning it on, he discovers that 2 whole days have already passed. Outside, it is already bright daylight. He looks around his room. He suddenly spots the strange black and white egg resting on the floor. Wondering what it is, he slowly approaches, but smoke outside catches his eye. Thick black smoke billows outside. He frowns and leans out the window. Below, a mutilated crowd gathers around a horrific car accident scene. He quietly wonders what they are doing and why so much blood covers the street. He even wonders if they are filming some kind of realistic zombie movie. Looking directly below his building, he spots more of these strange figures. Suddenly, a massive creature down below notices him and locks its eyes. Its gaze meets his. Black blood spews from its distorted mouth. With bone-pale eyes staring up, terrifying movie images flash in his mind. The tense atmosphere solidifies as he locks eyes with the beast. He quickly pulls his head back inside, but the damage is done. It is too late, especially since the building's downstairs door is completely unlocked. The monster roars. It rushes inside, its savage roars echoing up. He breaks into a cold sweat. If this is acting, it is far too real. His room is on the 5th floor. It will not take long for that terrifying creature to reach his door. How many hits can his thin door actually take from that monster? That terrifying roar makes it clear no human could ever make that sound. He burns with anxiety. Is a real zombie apocalypse actually happening right now? He is definitely not ready to die. Suddenly, his gaze locks onto a strange black and white egg. What is this thing even for? He swallows hard. Should he try dripping his own blood onto it? That is how webtoon main characters always form contracts with their beasts. Just in case, he prepares a backup. He grabs a heavy cleaver and a small kitchen knife, wrapping thick duct tape around his forearms several times. Everything is ready. He slowly approaches the egg, holding his breath. Whether it works or not, he has to try. No harm in trying. If it fails, he will fight for his life with cold, hard steel. Footsteps. Halt right on the 4th floor. The thing is looking for him. Dead silence. He tiptoes, barely daring to breathe. Why is this monster so incredibly smart? It actually knows to search upstairs, just as he wonders about this. Bang! A loud, sudden crash echoes as a cup shatters on the floor. His eyes widen in absolute panic. The wind outside is too strong, blowing the curtain and knocking it over. Because of that sharp sound, the zombie downstairs has pinpointed his location. Heavy footsteps rush closer. Violent, crushing blows slam against his front door. The monster is breaking in. Gritting his teeth, he uses the sharp fruit knife to slice his finger open, smearing the flowing blood onto the shell. Suddenly, his mind connects with something deep inside an unknown, ancient place. He focuses on the strange sensation, realizing it is definitely the egg in front of him. It actually worked. He can barely contain his rising excitement, whispering in sheer disbelief. Feeling like a grand new world has just opened up for him, but then reality hits. Hits hard. The contract is done, but the egg is still unhatched. Bang! The door hinges shatter completely. The wooden door is kicked wide open as the ferocious zombie bursts straight into the room, and it gets worse. The heavy crash has attracted 4 more flesh-eating monsters from the other floors. Now, 5 bloodthirsty beasts are charging directly at him. He bolts into the back room, his mind racing with panic. Is this some kind of sick joke? He doesn't even know how to kill one. And now 5 of them have surrounded him completely as the first beast pounces. He swings his heavy cleaver downward with every bit of his strength. The sharp blade embeds deep into its skull. He can't pull it free. The zombie keeps moving, stretching out its dark, filthy claws to grab him. He is about to be trapped, in a moment of pure desperation. He kicks the creature's knee with all the strength left in his body. It collapses. He quickly rolls to the side, but another one pounces and bites his arm. Fortunately, his protective layers of thick tape hold strong, stopping the sharp teeth from immediately tearing his skin. The rest roar and close in. He is completely cornered. Facing certain death, he decides to go completely ruthless, fighting to the end. He throws a wild, heavy punch directly into the closest zombie's rotting face. Suddenly, the strange black and white egg in the corner begins to shake. A tiny crack slowly appears. The battle is about to change. The very air around his fist begins to warp, even before his fist makes contact with the zombie's face. The monster's head suddenly explodes, but that is not all. A bizarre shockwave completely shreds the three zombies standing right behind it. This strange force even tears apart the lower body of the creature, currently biting his arm. He stands there completely dazed. Did he really just do that? Shaking off the zombie still clinging to his arm, he quickly checks for any injuries. Once he sees he is clean, he grabs a nearby stool and repeatedly bashes the last monster's skull until it finally stops twitching. Before more can break inside, he shoves a heavy cabinet against the door. He then collapses to the ground. Desperate to process the shock, the end times are officially here. He never expected an actual zombie outbreak. Now his stomach growls. No surprise there, considering he was knocked out for 2 whole days before this massive fight. Entering the kitchen, he opens the fridge, and a terrible smell hits his nose. Thanks to that mysterious green light, all the fresh vegetables, fruits and meats have completely rotted away. Luckily, the canned goods, biscuits and freeze-dried rations are still perfectly fine to eat. He cracks open a soda, grabs a box of cookies, and heads over to the window to check on that strange egg. But the moment his eyes land on it, he freezes mid-bite. Shards of eggshell are scattered all over the floor, and whatever was inside has completely vanished. That is when he feels a sudden weight on his left shoulder. Looking over, he spots a pair of tiny, mysterious paws resting right on his shoulder. Turning his head very slowly, he finds himself staring right into a furry little face. The cute little thing lets out a string of excited noises, babbling happily at him. Startled, he jumps back and spins around, which sends the little creature tumbling off his shoulder. Once it stabilizes, he finally gets a clear look at it. And honestly, what he sees standing right there is like nothing from our world. It looks like a mix between a cat and a dog, covered in sleek black fur, sporting a long tail, 2 small horns, and literally floating right in midair. In a high-pitched, childlike voice, it apologizes for the scare and calls him master. The black beast then looks longingly at the box of cookies, sniffing the air. It mentions how good they smell and asks if it can have a bite. Seeing the little guy drool, he cautiously hands over a cookie to chew on. He asks what that whole master thing was about. The beast explains that his blood on the egg sealed a contract, officially making him their master, but then he wonders, what did it mean by us? Suddenly, a much calmer, cooler voice speaks up from behind, noting that contracting 2 beast spirits at the same time is no small feat. Doing so without any backlash means his innate talent must be insanely high. He quickly turns around and spots a second creature, this one covered in snowy white fur. It has a single horn, but otherwise looks identical to the black one. He asks who exactly it is. The white beast replies that if he wants answers, he should try connecting with the depths of his own mind. Intrigued, he closes his eyes and attempts to search his inner consciousness, just like the creature suggested. Sure enough, 2 distinct figures materialize in his thoughts, representing the tiny beasts, standing right before him, both connected to a massive flood of secret information. Through this mental link, he finally learns that the white beast is called the Time Spirit, the Time Wheel Phantom Beast, which commands time, while the black one is the Void Rift Shadow Beast, possessing space attributes. He also discovers something even bigger. They all share a collective name, known as Beast Spirits. These spirits are ranked across 9 distinct tiers, from F up to triple S. Higher potential means absolute, overwhelming power. Miraculously, his own 2 personal beast spirits are both peak triple S tier. Once you contract a spirit, the tamer gains the exact elemental attributes of that creature. More contracted spirits mean a much wider arsenal of powers. He snaps back to reality, his heart racing with pure excitement, the 2 beasts before him, are his own private beast spirits, having one time element and one space element. He can wield both absolute forces. He realizes he is about to become completely unstoppable. That incredible, devastating punch from earlier was clearly his body utilizing the Void Rift Shadow Beast's spatial powers. Taking a deep breath, he closes his eyes and attempts to activate the Time Wheel Phantom Beast's temporal powers. Instantly, everything completely freezes solid. The Shadow Beast's chewing stops. Even the dark blood splattered across the ceiling, which was slowly dripping down, hangs perfectly suspended. Time is literally frozen. But this mind-blowing state lasts only 3 seconds before everything snaps back. The dark blood splashes onto the floor, and the greedy shadow beast resumes chewing its biscuit. Meanwhile, the white time phantom beast, sensing the sudden temporal shift, turns its head to look at him in surprise. It notes that he learns incredibly fast, saving it any real teaching hassle. The white beast then asks if he wants to give them simpler names, since their full species titles are way too long. He tells it that he agrees. The white beast tells him to give it a minute, and for the next 2 minutes he racks his brain searching for the perfect fit. Finally, he decides. He picks 2 names based on birth order. The elder white one is Ming Jiao, the younger black one is named Ming Kong. He considers these choices pretty acceptable, staring at his 2 newly named companions. He feels highly satisfied. Their physical forms look incredibly dangerous, but that worry is completely pointless. These are not their actual bodies. They can vanish and return instantly, already merged deep inside his own body. As long as he lives, they are perfectly safe. As for whether they will ever manifest physically again in the future is a question for another day. Once his stamina recovers a bit, he turns to look at Ming Kong, asking if having a space attribute means he gets a portable storage pocket dimension. Ming Kong chirps happily, reassuring its master that it is absolutely possible. With just a single thought, he can easily store any object right inside the space. Hearing this, a rush of pure excitement washes over him. He decides to test it on a nearby pen, and with a swift thought, it vanishes instantly. Another quick thought, and the pen is right back in his hand. He is running low on food, but with this infinite pocket space, he can easily loot the entire local supermarket. Suddenly, a strange glint catches his attention. Did something just reflect light? He slowly approaches to investigate, only to spot a sickening puddle of dark flesh oozing with a pale white liquid. That seems to be zombie brain matter. Pushing aside the soft tissue, he digs out a transparent crystal from inside. The glint from earlier came from this. He then looks at the shredded flesh around him, fighting back intense disgust meticulously. Sifting through piece by piece, absolutely nothing, he searches the entire room and finally pulls another crystal right out from the head of the zombie he previously smashed to death. He hands these 2 clear objects to the Time Wheel Phantom Beast for closer inspection. After picking up and examining the crystal, Ming Jiao tells him that these 2 items can apparently enhance their power. He asks if beast spirits have power levels too. The creature confirms that every beast spirit starts at tier 1, and once power reaches a certain threshold, the energy within its body transforms, granting much greater strength. That means a massive power-up, Ming Jiao adds. That beast spirits grow stronger by consuming other spirits and some special materials like the crystal cores in his hand. Since that is the case, he decides these 2 items belong to them. Hearing that they can become stronger, he quickly divides the 2 crystal cores equally between Ming Jiao and Ming Kong. As for these white stones, he decides to call them crystal cores for now. Once the 2 beasts swallow the cores, he instantly feels that his time and space powers have both received a slight boost. Finally, a path to growing stronger has opened up. Next, he needs to hit the supermarket to stock up on food and supplies. With everything prepared, he pushes the cabinet aside and steps out of his room. The hallway is dead silent because of the loud family upstairs. Almost all the surrounding apartments are empty, which creates a relatively safe zone for him. The four zombies drawn by the sound of the door crashing were likely the only monsters nearby. Speaking of that noisy family upstairs, his footsteps pause. You just know he is not letting this slide. He turns around, muttering that they have been making annoying noise every single night and he has tolerated them for far too long. He quickly arrives on the sixth floor. Since there are no zombies in the hallway, he directly kicks the door open with brute force. He finds this incredibly easy. After contracting with the beast spirits, because his physical fitness has improved significantly, once the door breaks open, four zombies come into view. The loud boy is missing an arm, one thigh gnawed down to the bone, and half of his head is completely bitten off. It looks like the parents and grandmother turned first, and upon seeing the child, who was still human, immediately turned on him. Now, the four zombies roar and lunge forward. He is not flustered in the slightest. With a gentle wave of his hands, he activates his space element ability, directly severing the heads of the three adult zombies from a distance. Then, with a graceful turn, he brings a hand blade down vertically and splits the child zombie in half from afar. He steps forward, splitting open their skulls. Confirmed dead, he wants to retrieve 3 crystal cores from them. Only the boy's head has no core, just some transparent liquid that seems to be an unformed core. He mutters to himself that only this first batch of converted zombies have formed proper crystal cores in their heads. He feeds 3 cores to the Shadow Beast and 1 to the Time Phantom. He worked this strategy out with Ming Zio beforehand. Right now he needs to boost his own direct offensive capabilities. His time ability remains a secret trump card, giving absolute priority to leveling up his Shadow Beast, Ming Kong. Ming Zio agreed to this. After securing his family and thoroughly scavenging the apartment, he heads downstairs feeling satisfied. Reaching the entrance, he spots dozens of zombies wandering the residential streets. He steps right out in front of them, completely unbothered. As the monsters surge forward, clawing and biting, he just stands his ground. With a raised hand, when they get within a single meter, he triggers time stop, freezing every single undead monster instantly in place. At that exact moment, his arm swings down, unleashing a concentrated wave of spatial force. With one clean horizontal sweep, he wipes out almost the entire pack. Only a few stragglers remain a few meters back, out of range, but that is no problem. The Time Wheel Phantom Beast is only at Tier 1, meaning his temporal freeze is pretty short, pausing things for just 2 seconds, but that is plenty of time for him to land 3 rapid-fire attacks. As time resumes, the surviving zombies charge forward, completely harmless, with another effortless wave of his hand. Their heads pop clean off. The lifeless bodies twitch once or twice, then collapse. This initial wave of converted zombies yields a pretty decent haul of crystal cores. He immediately feeds a large chunk of them to his Void Rift Shadow Beast. As Ming Kong gobbles them down, the spatial energy inside his body steadily rises. Suddenly, a strange warmth spreads all through his chest, and his spatial power begins to solidify, his physical strength surging significantly. This sensation lasts only a few seconds, but once it fades, he feels his spatial ability running several times stronger than before. Did he just hit Tier 2? He immediately checks Ming Kong's status within his mind, and sure enough, the beast spirit has jumped up by a whole level. Let's see, Ming Kong just ate 12 crystal cores on top of the 3 from before, making 15 total. He plans to upgrade Ming Zio next to check if 15 cores is the magic number for every beast spirit. First, he heads straight for the nearest convenience store. The metal shutter is halfway open, so he slips inside, sweeping up all the food, drinks, and untouched daily essentials that survived the green light, packing them straight into his spatial storage. He Doesn't even spare the cigarettes and booze behind the counter. He doesn't drink or smoke, but in an apocalypse, these are premium trading commodities. There is absolutely no need to worry about running out of room. He can feel that his pocket dimension is literally limitless, big enough to swallow skyscraper-sized buildings. How does he know? Because he just stored an entire apartment building inside, and it worked flawlessly. Next, he makes his way toward the main supermarket, cutting down any zombies that block his path. With every kill, his mastery over his spatial powers grows sharper. Now, with a mere flick of his finger, he can slice off a zombie's head from afar. This sweep yields 43 more cores. He clears a random apartment, puts down the monsters inside, and harvests another round of. He begins feeding the time wheel phantom beast to test his theory. Ming Xiao already ate 2 earlier, continuously feeding it up to the 13th core. That familiar sensation returns as he emerges from that state. His time ability takes a major leap, officially advancing to Tier 2. At this point, he can basically confirm a beast spirit needs 15 cores to advance from Tier 1 to Tier 2, and the next milestones are likely fixed as well. Having his answer, he stops hesitating, heading straight toward the small supermarket near the entrance. Arriving at the main gate, he spots the storefront just opposite. With its rolling shutter tightly shut, it is a small private shop. Since it was on his usual route, he shopped here often. Before the world ended, the place was run by a single mother and her daughter, a high schooler who was quite good-looking. But he has zero interest. He accepts reality quickly and right now. During a brutal apocalypse, he assumes they are probably already dead. He forces open the metal rolling shutter, stepping inside to start gathering everything edible and useful. The inventory is far more abundant than any convenience store, packed with food, drinks, and daily essentials. He does not hold back, sweeping everything within his sight directly into his spatial storage. Suddenly, a subtle rustling noise from the shelves ahead catches his ear, halting him. Just like that, an abrupt vision of the future floods his mind. In the premonition, he walks to the end of the aisle before turning. A cleaver comes flying rapidly from behind the racks. His future self does not dodge, taking the blow directly, fortunately with his strength heavily boosted after reaching Tier 2, a strike that would sever a whole arm only leaves a shallow scratch. He looks up and spots the terrified shop owner clutching the bloody cleaver. The vision ends. He used his time type ability to peek ahead. It is honestly surprising this mother and daughter had such luck to not turn into mindless zombies. He calls out to the pair, telling them they do not need to hide because he is just another human. Hearing a real human voice, the two cautiously peek out first. Recognizing his face, they finally breathe easy and step out. The shop owner nervously asks if she should close the shutter. He replies that nearby zombies are dead, so nothing will be coming for now. Giving her a brief glance, he ignores them and continues gathering loot. But he does not completely strip them of all their food and water. Instead, he leaves enough supplies for them to survive about a week. He has no grudge against them, so being completely ruthless is unnecessary. But they cannot hide forever if they still refuse to fight zombies. After that, they are simply not meant to survive this apocalypse. Watching him pack their resources, the girl whispers to her mother. The owner immediately glares at her, and the daughter quickly covers her mouth, instantly realizing she just said something incredibly dangerous in front of him. Looking over, he sees the shop owner awkwardly smiling, explaining her child is still young and speaks without thinking. She tells him all these supplies are his to take. As she speaks, her body trembles with fear that she might displease him and face instant. That was a better outcome to her, fearing what might happen in the meantime. But he completely ignores their plays. Why waste time on two people who might not survive the week? He leaves them some food and heads out. Stepping past the doors, he walks away. The mother and daughter watch. They watch him go, finally looking at the horrifying scene outside. Bloody corpses, the heavy stench of death makes them violently gag. All of this was done by one man. A desperate thought arises. But wait, is aligning with this monster actually their best shot at survival? The shop owner stares deeply at him, her silent calculation matching her daughter's. The world has ended. She knows exactly how these stories go. In a brutal apocalypse, desperate women are far more vulnerable than men. And pretty young girls, absolute targets. She looks at her daughter, decided. If they must face this nightmare, she thinks, she has to act. Rather than being forced later, she will take control of their fate. It is better to choose now, while she still has some choice left. Even if she is older, she still has her looks, as long as her daughter survives, no sacrifice is too great, seeing him reach to pull down the metal shutter, she desperately begs him to wait. He stops, she grabs her daughter and rushes over, throwing herself down. Kneeling right at his feet, she begs him to let them tag along, offering all the food. He can take everything in the shop if he only protects her daughter. The girl is still young, she says, but she will do absolutely anything. She finished speaking and stared at him with nervous eyes, waiting for his answer. Plots in these trashy web novels are always exactly the same, and he knows the formula. Any decent-looking girl can act weak to trigger a protagonist's sense of justice. He is not buying it. He repeats her words back to her, asking very slowly. If she genuinely means, she will do absolutely anything just to be allowed to tag along. She nods quickly, yes, yes, as long as he protects her daughter, she will do anything. She grits her teeth, clearly hating how desperate she has to be, but her eyes still burn with hope, desperately begging for his final agreement. But he just stares back with a completely straight face and then flatly refuses her request. Seriously, what on earth is she thinking? They just want to tag along and drag him down now. Do they actually think real life is some fantasy story where girls throw themselves at the main character just to join his harem? He knows better, keeping all these supplies for himself is a much smarter move. He is no emperor, so why build a harem? In his mind, women are just dead weight in this apocalypse. They would only get in the way of his survival. He never planned on forming a team with anyone from the very start. Real apex predators do not rely on others, ever. And truly capable survivors would never throw themselves at a stranger like this. Without giving the mother and daughter even a single second to react, he slams the metal shutter right back down, isolating himself. He leaves some food. He was already being benevolent, yet those two women actually wanted to cling to him. Did they really think he was like those useless novel protagonists whose brains got completely hijacked by their desires, unable to walk straight around women? He has read plenty of apocalyptic power fantasy stories himself, but almost all of them feature saintly teddy bear ladies collecting massive harems. There are very few decent ones, and weak words cannot hide the author's true desires. He wanted a real power fantasy, not a peek beneath the heroine's robes. Real life is already stressful enough, and reading a power fantasy should be an escape. But apparently even fictional worlds cannot spare him. Did he break some heavenly rule? In a past life, he has actually been heavily criticized in book review sections for leaving incredibly sharp comments. Honestly, he really does not understand why so many authors write such trash. Does the plot really just revolve around flattering the heroine? If such a garbage protagonist existed in real life, he would definitely hang the guy up and severely punish his pathetic weakness. After clearing out another batch of zombies, he hides in an empty room to rest, chewing on stale bread. His mind keeps replaying the moment when that shopkeeper had begged to follow him. He shakes his head to clear the daze. Sure, women might betray you, but true power never will. After a quick break, he heads back out to continue wiping out the zombies, since there are space and time element. Beast spirits, there must be others like metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. While slaying monsters, he asks Ming Xiao if he can contract beast spirits infinitely. But Ming Zio shuts that down, saying infinite contracts are completely impossible. He can only contract a single beast spirit for each attribute. Since everyone's talent is limited, most people can only manage 2 or 3. Truly gifted individuals can hold more, and theoretically, he could master every attribute. That sounds completely overpowered. Our main character immediately starts scheming his next move. He wonders what if he contracts basic beast spirits now and replaces them later. But before he can even finish his thought, the ancient time wheel spirit completely pours cold water on his plans, asking what he thinks beast spirits are. Does he really think he can just grab them and discard them at will? Once an attribute spirit chooses its host, that connection becomes completely permanent. If 2 spirits of the exact same element enter the body, they will clash and ruthlessly devour one another until only the stronger spirit remains. And during this brutal process of devouring each other, the host will suffer absolute agonizing pain. If the newcomer is the one consumed, it is fine. But if his original partner gets eaten, things will go downhill incredibly fast. That specific elemental energy will violently spiral out of control inside him. He would basically end up destroyed by his own power, but he asks, what if? He gets 2 identical spirits with equal power, so neither can win. Ming Zio just scoffs, asking if he is seriously that brave. Does he really want to be tormented by endless, soul-crushing pain forever? Our guy feels a bit embarrassed. He forgot about the painful reality of that exploit. Well, can he just terminate the contract then? Ming Zio warns him that doing so would permanently waste that specific elemental affinity of his forever. He would never be able to host that attribute again. Seriously, how brutal. Complaining all the while, he cuts down another massive horde of zombies. His space blade slices cleanly through their necks, severing head after head and bringing him dozens of fresh crystal cores. Ming Zio chimes in, sharp as ever, telling him to stop plotting clever schemes. For each attribute's beast spirit, there is only one chance to choose. They are not mere tools to be thrown away, and no transaction in this dark world comes without a steep price. With Ming Zio's warning, he abandons his plan of immediately claiming an all-attribute collection, but it hardly matters. He can easily take his time to track them down later on. Meanwhile, on a nearby residential rooftop, just look at that roof. A desperate pair of eyes watches him intently as he slaughters the undead hordes below. Dual-wielding heavy cleavers, he drops a smaller zombie. With every single strike, up on that roof, a terrified young man urges the girl next to him to look. The girl, whom he calls Lily, runs straight to the edge. This couple slipped up to the roof 2 days ago for some private intimacy, right before a sudden green flash ruined everything. When they finally woke up, they realized the streets below were crawling with hungry, flesh-eating monsters, trapping them on this roof ever since. Cowering beside them is a red, dog-like beast spirit they discovered up here. After waking, the girl had accidentally dripped blood on it, and just like that, Huang Lily bound with the fire scale hound, gaining power over fire. But the fire scale hound is only F rank, meaning Huang Lily can barely summon a matchstick-sized flame for combat, pointing down her boyfriend. Gestures downward and tells Lily to look. Following his finger, she stares out to see him single-handedly clearing the horde below, raising a sudden flicker of hope. For survival, her boyfriend marvels at how easily he slays those monsters from a safe distance, wondering if he has special powers like hers. Though clearly much stronger, he decides to push those thoughts aside. Because calling for help is far more urgent, Lily nods and both of them scream out, begging him to rescue them, but they are not alone. As every nearby survivor downstairs hears the noise and spots him below, they fling their windows open, shouting for rescue. One man begs for his life, yelling that monsters are piling outside his door. Another screams out his location, pleading to be saved as well. A third cries that they are clawing at his door, urging him to hurry. Across the street, a voice shrieks In sheer terror, they have already broken inside. They are pounding on his door, and then they are in. The horrific scream abruptly cuts off into dead silence. Feeling deeply annoyed by all the frantic noise from the buildings, he decides to pull back, dragging the zombie pack far away before taking them on. Once those annoying shouts finally fade, he stops and continues harvesting the valuable crystal cores. After all, he has cleared out most threats. If the remaining survivors still cannot escape this open path that is on them. Seeing him draw the zombie horde away, leaving only a scattered few undead behind, the streets grow quiet. Secretly, many survivors begin to stir. But not a single survivor is willing to make the first move. Those few remaining monsters below still present a deadly threat. This fragile peace cannot last. It does not last. A desperate survivor leaps down from the second floor. After hitting the ground, he scrambles up and sprints away. The scattered zombies howl and instantly give chase. Finally, the desperate runner bends down and snatches something shiny from the dirt. Then, using the metal burglar bars for leverage, he climbs right back up onto a nearby window sill. Trembling with fear and hope, he slowly opens his tightly clenched fist. A glowing crystal core rests inside. Our hero had dropped this earlier, but he had no time to grab it while fighting off the horde. Now it is someone else's only ticket to survival. The desperate man swallows the glowing core. In a single gulp, laughing like a madman, he expects to gain powers. Just like our main character, sure enough, once the energy core goes down, a strange heat blooms in his gut, but before he can celebrate, his stomach violently twists. No miraculous superpower awakens. Instead, his entire body rejects the energy, spewing thick black blood right onto the ravenous ghouls. Waiting below, his strength instantly drains away as he retches again and again. The veins across his pale skin turn pitch black. He slips from the ledge, plummeting straight into the waiting jaws. This brutal distraction is exactly what other trapped survivors needed to finally make their escape from the building. Up on the rooftop, a terrified couple spots the opening and reacts immediately. They grab a drainage pipe, sliding down to safety as fast as possible. Thanks to one man's tragic end, a whole group breaks free too. Scavenge for food. Whatever happens to them next is out of our hero's hands. Back on his end, he has finished wiping out his own local threat. Gathering dozens of fresh crystal cores, dropping the final beast he sheathes his twin cleavers, he rests his hands on his knees, gasping for air. Slaughtering over 100 monsters has pushed his Tier 2 body to its absolute limit. Retreating to an empty room, he collapses onto a couch and unwraps some bread. Suddenly, his loyal Void Rift shadow beast slips out, rubbing eagerly against his arm. Its eyes shine like searchlights, staring directly at the food, not wanting to be stingy. He tears open another package for the greedy little Ming Kong. Then he offers some to Ming Xiao. The time wheel phantom beast hesitates before taking the snack, nibbling on it quietly in the corner. After eating, the young man prepares a box of self-heating hot pot, adding water and sealing the lid. Soon, a rich, mouth-watering aroma begins to fill the room. Suddenly, a soft rustle echoes from the far corner of the quiet space. His enhanced senses pick up the movement instantly, locking onto a closed cabinet. He stands up cautiously. As he approaches, the air around his left hand begins to distort with spatial power. He reaches out with his right hand and flings the door wide open in a sudden, blindingly fast motion. Leaping back defensively, he keeps his guard raised to assess whatever is hiding inside the dark space. To his surprise, it is not a mutated zombie waiting to strike, but a tiny and pale green fawn beast spirit. Starving and bleeding, the poor creature is far too weak to even stand. Beast spirits must feed before bonding, though food matters little afterward. He wonders aloud what he should do with this unexpected little find. Deciding if it is worth contracting, when in doubt, he simply summons the omniscient Ming Xiao. He steps forward, takes a look, and carefully senses its presence. Before giving his final verdict, it is a B-rank spirit, seemingly of the wood element. He tells him that he can contract it if he wants, but warns him about finding better options later, before the beast can even finish. Speaking, the young man catches his drift. He decides he does not want it anymore. But Ming Xiao reminds him that even these beast spirits can be significantly enhanced by consuming their own kind. If he truly wants, he can use the fawn for fuel. He asks if the master is sure about letting them eat it. Hearing the word food, Ming Kong's eyes light up instantly, and he eagerly lines in close, ready to ask what they are eating, insisting that he absolutely wants a massive share of it too. The master strokes Ming Kong's soft fur, admitting that it feels incredibly comfortable. After a brief moment of warmth, his eyes go cold once again as he orders them to eat. Right on cue, two massive black and white beast-shaped phantoms manifest right behind his back. The twin beasts open their jaws incredibly wide and each tear into half of the fawn's body. With a horrific rip, the creature is shredded apart, becoming pure nourishment for Ming Xiao and Ming Kong. After consuming the flesh, the spectral beasts return directly into his body. At that exact moment, he feels a slight surge of dual elemental power within his physical body. It seems eating other beast spirits is highly effective. However, this particular fawn's quality and rank were too low to give a real boost. Fortunately, he is not picky. Even the smallest bit helps. Next, he takes out crystal cores from his storage and begins letting Ming Kong devour them. As the shadow beast feeds, the master counts every single one. It is not until the 98th core that he feels his spatial energy leap to another level. He estimates it takes roughly 100 crystal cores to advance from Tier 2 to Tier 3. Interestingly, the half fawn they just consumed was equivalent to about 2 cores. By that calculation, advancing to the next tier will likely require several hundred or even 1,000 cores. He only wonders if the zombies will evolve or if the quality of the crystal cores will improve. There are still 42 cores left. He feeds them all to Ming Xiao, boosting his time energy by another significant segment. By now, his self-heating hot pot is finally ready. He happily digs in, completely clearing out the entire bowl before leaning back comfortably on the couch, gently patting his very full stomach. He uses his other hand to pet the void rift shadow beast, who squints his eyes. Contentment. After spending half a day of interaction, he has mostly figured out their distinct personalities. The arrogant time wheel phantom beast is extremely proud and arrogant, almost never allowing the master to pet him. Meanwhile, the void beast is much more affectionate. He can pet this one as much as he wants, though he is quite a glutton. Talk about a perfect companion, right? Either way, they are loyal, ensuring they will never betray their master. After all, if the master dies without first terminating the contract beforehand, their beast spirit quality drops by an entire rank. Along with their strength and growth limits, neither can easily leave. Suddenly, he turns his head toward the time wheel phantom beast, sitting a short distance away. Quietly licking his paws, the young man asks him if he can sense other beast spirits of the exact same caliber. Ming Xiao reveals it is not exactly sensing, but if they are close enough, he can definitely sense them. The catch is, his detection range is incredibly small, unless they are literally face to face. He can barely feel a thing. He looks down and asks if any are near. The partner scoffed, "Are you joking?" He rests until night finally falls. He finds a city map in his room and sits on the sofa to plot his route. Under the cover of pitch-black darkness, the zombies outside become hyperactive. Their sense of smell gets way sharper, and they can still see perfectly. So anyone foolish enough to show the slightest light is targeted and killed. He pulls a tiny flashlight from his pocket dimension, carefully shielding the beam. To study the map bit by bit, his eyes lock onto the city center. That is where the massive malls are, packed full of essential survival resources. If he can completely clean them out, food will not be an issue for months. Plus, he plans to keep a sharp eye out for local farmers' markets. even if all the fresh produce has already rotted away to nothing. Finding viable seeds would let him easily grow his own food and become self-sufficient. After looting the bustling city center, he will cross the dense mountain forest to reach his final goal, City B. With the route set, he drifts off. It is time to rest. Wait, why not sleep in the bed? Because it is completely covered in sticky, dried blood. The sheets are totally ruined and stuck together. It is a complete biohazard. Clearly someone died there. Then they turned and crawled away into the night. The next morning, after breakfast and making sure the coast is clear, he hotwires a car and sets off along his carefully mapped route. The path is lined with small shops, perfect for grabbing extra supplies. But he is no greedy hoarder. He will leave some behind. He wants to give other brave survivors a fighting chance at finding food. As for hospital meds, he completely ignores them. He has zero use for medicine. With his insane Tier 3 physical stats, common illnesses cannot even touch him. If his body cannot fight off a virus, basic pills will not do anything. Besides, he can always sign a contract with a healing beast spirit later. Cruising down the streets, zombies constantly jump him, and desperate survivors cry out. But he ignores them all. In this world, everyone must save themselves. Honestly, clearing the undead is becoming way too easy for him. With just a casual wave of his hand, entire packs are instantly vaporized. He loots store after store, filling his dimensional space to the brim. Reaching the farmer's market, a foul smell of pure decay hits him hard. It is so putrid it would make any normal person gag instantly. Tolerating the stench, he takes a breath and activates his broken time stop skill. Combining it with spatial magic, he wipes out every zombie in the area. After harvesting the crystal cores from their skulls, he starts looking for seeds. He digs through piles of rotten vegetables, but his hopes are quickly crushed. Every single seed has rotted away, crumbling into useless powder at his touch. Sighing in disappointment, he has no choice but to head toward the city center. The city center used to be the most bustling hub of the region. Now it is a hellish paradise overrun by a massive sea of zombies, blocking the survivors inside and trapping them completely in a quiet office building downtown. A middle-aged man stands looking out of a floor-to-ceiling window, watching the massive crowd of zombies banging on the doors. He sparks up a precious remaining cigarette, taking a slow, quiet drag. Suddenly, one of his men walks in to report the grim reality. He calls him Brother Chiang, asking what they do now since their food supplies are running dangerously low. Chiang, the leader of the group, calmly asks if they have cleared the neighboring structures yet, and if they found any more of those bizarre beast eggs. His subordinate nods, confirming they searched everywhere and brought back 3 eggs. Chiang frowns, muttering that it is not enough before pressing for more. The man hesitates, stumbling over his words, but Chiang orders him to speak. He confesses they spotted another egg down in the underground garage, and this particular egg is glowing with a strange, shimmering light on its surface, meaning whatever is inside must be incredibly powerful. But there is a catch. The basement is absolutely crawling with monsters, making it nearly unreachable. Chiang listens in silence, tapping the ash off his cigarette before asking who claimed the first 3 eggs. The subordinate reveals they went to Junhyuk, Kai Anki, and Wai Seong. Chiang relaxes slightly, glad they are in the hands of his closest allies, but 4 fighters are still not enough to secure their survival. He asks if there is any way to retrieve that basement egg. The man admits it is suicide unless all 4 of them fight together, especially since the regular survivors lack real weapons to help. They would just be dead weight. That is when the follower leans in close, whispering a suggestion to Chiang. What if they use the others? He murmurs, leaving the rest of his thought hanging in the air. Chiang knows exactly what he means. He wants to throw the weak survivors to the horde to buy themselves some time. Chiang immediately shuts it down. If they throw away their meat shields now, who is going to absorb the damage later? Is the lackey ready to lead the charge? The follower quickly shakes his head. Chiang tells him to hold off, hoping for a better opportunity, and dismisses him. But down the hall, the darker side of survival is already unfolding. Wei Xiong and his two powered allies, who also bonded with beast spirits, lounge on a plush sofa, letting a dozen women cater to their every whim. These women were originally rescued by Chiang, but since these three also gained power, their egos completely took over. They claimed the most beautiful survivors for themselves, acting like kings. The supernatural beasts that bonded with Wei Xiong, Junhyuk, and Kai Enki control the elements of water, fire, and metal. Demanding they strip down, Wei Xiong watches a slender girl dance before him, unable to hold back his worst instincts for even another second. He stands up, pulling her close and letting his hands roam. Terrified by his touch, the girl begins to pull away in a panic. That is not what was agreed upon, sir, but before the young woman can say anything else, Wei Young hoists her over his shoulder, disregarding her frantic struggles. He walks straight inside, the heavy door locks, desperate sobbing immediately drifts out. The remaining women tremble like autumn leaves, they know they will be next. If they had the strength, they would resist, but reality is simply too cruel. Meanwhile, our main character has just finished scavenging a supermarket. Through constant fighting, his time wheel phantom beast has advanced to tier 3. He also gathered many uncontracted beast spirits. Unfortunately, their quality is too low. So he decides to give them all to Ming Xiao and Ming Kong to devour. Directly across the street sits the company where he was once heavily exploited. Out of sheer curiosity, he heads inside to take a quick look. But there are no survivors, not even his black-hearted boss, Wei Song. This leaves him quite disappointed, just as he is about to drive on. Stepping outside, he discovers someone is literally trying to steal his car door. Yes, he left it unlocked. Immediately, a desperate couple jumps right inside, starts the engine, slams the accelerator, and speeds away recklessly. But they only drive a short distance before the vehicle loses control. It violently crashes into a wall. He watches them in utter confusion, blood streaming from their heads as they desperately struggle to crawl out. Groaning in pain, he thinks they shouldn't speed if they can't drive. To be fair, he doesn't really care about the stolen car. It was just a random vehicle. Besides, the city center is close anyway. Compared to the car, these two thieves attract his attention much more. Still, their bizarre behavior is honestly completely beyond his understanding. They inexplicably rushed over, wrecked his ride, and are now rolling around. It is not until he catches sight of the next moment that he finally understands. Around the corner, several terrifying dogs with black blood suddenly dart out. They are zombie dogs, infected, and they lunge directly at the couple. Terrified, the man quickly pulls out a heavy cleaver to defend himself. He begins hacking wildly, but to our protagonist's absolute surprise, the fast-moving zombie dog actually swerves mid-run to dodge the swing. This is highly unusual. Normally, brain-dead zombies never dodge cold weapons. He had killed several normal zombies with a cleaver just yesterday. And even when he aimed directly for their heads, they never dodged. They clearly feel no pain. Could zombie animals actually be smarter than humans? The zombie dog that dodged instantly seizes its golden opportunity. It opens its bloody maw, biting directly into the man's arm. The man screams in agony. The dog pulls back with savage force. His entire arm holding the knife is completely ripped off, spraying blood. At that exact moment, several more ravenous zombie dogs pounce on him. Tearing the poor man to shreds, the woman has zero combat power. Instead of running, she just stands there, screaming at the top of her lungs. When the beasts appeared, she screamed. When her partner attacked, she screamed. Even as he was torn to pieces, she just kept on screaming. Soon, both of them are completely overwhelmed by a dozen ravenous beasts. After eating, the zombie dogs fix their gaze on him, standing not far away. But he isn't afraid of this pack. With a casual space blade, he kills a large number of them. He can activate his time stop ability at will, so these zombie dogs don't even have a chance to get close before they are completely wiped out. He takes out their crystal cores and has Ming Xiao carefully examine them, only to find their energy levels are slightly higher than those from humanoid zombies, but it is just a tiny bit higher, meaning they aren't very useful. Handing them over to Ming Xiao, he continues on foot toward the city center. 2 hours later, he spots the massive horde of zombies ahead, his eyes nearly popping out. The reason is simple: there are at least 10,000 zombies packed together, and so many crystal cores will definitely provide an insane power boost. Still, rushing straight in is out of the question. It would be much safer to take them down in batches. Thinking this, he slowly retreats without alerting any of them. Finding a locked room, he draws a simple circle on the door with his finger. Instantly, the space inside and outside connects, forming a seamless spatial gateway. He steps right into the room without facing any obstacle at all. Once he is inside, the spatial gate quickly vanishes, leaving no mark behind. Looking around, he sees that everything is neatly arranged. The table is completely free of dust, and there are open food cans sitting in the trash, with the liquid inside not even dried up yet. All signs point to someone hiding out here, but right now, the place is dead silent. Could the owner be resting somewhere in here? He heads over to the bedroom, seeing only a messy blanket piled up on one side of the bed. He searches the entire apartment, but finds no one. His gaze lands on the wardrobe, and honestly, we all know nothing good is inside. He slowly walks over and suddenly catches the faint, metallic scent of blood. Realizing something is very wrong, he steps forward and pulls open the closet door. Immediately, heavy stench of rot hits him, and a pile of fresh white bones comes into view, still clinging with bits of flesh and blood. Seeing this gruesome sight, he quickly retreats to the center of the room. This place has a serious problem. Then a strange, frantic scratching sound echoes from the walls, accompanied by sharp squeaks. He instantly realizes they are mutated rats. Zombie rodents begin pouring out of holes hidden all over the room. These holes were deeply concealed, some under the sofa, some under the bed. Suddenly, a rat leaps at his back with blinding speed. Luckily, his reflexes are sharp, and he launches a space blade backward, slicing the rodent in half, barely avoiding a bite. Since there is still no known cure for the zombie virus, getting scratched is out of the question. And let us be real, without a cure for the virus, one tiny bite means game over. But these zombie rats are incredibly fast, tiny, and numbering in the dozens. They completely surround him, blocking any chance of escape. What he fails to notice is that 3 zombie rats are quietly hanging from the ceiling right above his head. These 3 pests drop straight down, their sharp fangs aimed directly at his face. Suddenly, the Time Wheel Phantom Beast and the Void Rift Shadow Beast materialize. The zombie virus does not affect beast spirits, and they cannot die anyway. They use their solid bodies to shield him from the sudden ambush of these 3 zombie rats. Sensing the commotion behind him, he spins around. That is when Ming Jiao scolds him, telling him to stay alert since he almost let them get him. Is killed. Seeing the failed sneak attack from the 3 beasts above, the zombie rat swarm immediately erupts, howling and pouncing toward him. He apologizes casually, saying he already knew they would block the path. As he speaks, he turns to face hundreds of screeching zombie rats without fear. Crossing his arms, he quickly unleashes his spatial power to create a distorted zone in the air. Any zombie rats that leap through this warped space are instantly torn to shreds. Soon, the first wave of zombie rats is wiped out, but before he can even catch his breath, another pack charges from behind. He has no choice but to warp the surrounding space once more, shredding the pests. But trust me, this is completely unsustainable. There is no telling how many more are coming, and running out of energy is a death sentence. Finally, after holding off 3 massive waves of zombie rats, he comes up with an escape plan, with rats absolutely everywhere. The only thing he is in physical contact with is the concrete floor beneath him. Going underground seems perfect, so he uses his premonition skill to confirm that. There is no rat nest waiting down there. Immediately, using his spatial tricks, he tears open a hole right beneath his feet and drops straight down into the darkness. Mid-fall, he activates time stop. Below lies a massive garage, filled to the brim with ordinary zombies, but completely free of zombie rats. This makes his job much easier. Using the frozen time, he quickly sweeps the area of the nearest threats. Before the temporal freeze even wears off, he clears a safe circular zone of about 5 meters. At the same moment, the ceiling portal snaps shut, completely shutting out the swarming rodents above. Spotting a fresh human target, the remaining zombies madly rush him. He shows zero mercy, his hands moving like a blur as sharp spatial blades slice through them. Compared to those agile, vicious rats, these slow walkers are absolute child's play. This level of combat barely drains his magical reserves or his physical stamina. He continues carving through the undead throughout the dark, echoing garage, causing a massive racket that eventually leads him right beneath the main office building. Suddenly, Mingzio manifests and alerts him that a fellow beast is close by. Hearing this unexpected news, he triggers his time stop to search the frozen area. But with so many walls and abandoned cars blocking his sight, he sees nothing. He teleports directly onto a car roof to scan the area, but still comes up empty, offing a few nearby stragglers before leaping away. He flashes onto another vehicle, tracking the direction of Mingzio's precise senses. After weaving through the brainless horde for a bit, he finally spots a glowing, mysterious egg tucked in a dark corner. Target acquired, he rushes toward it. Meanwhile, high up in the office building, a panicked subordinate runs in to inform Zio that the scouts downstairs noticed the zombies acting strange. They are all charging toward a single spot in the basement. Zio suddenly bolts up from his leather sofa, demanding to know the status of that egg. The guard reports it is still untouched, meaning they can seize this perfect opportunity to secure it. Hearing this, Zio bursts into a fit of maniacal laughter. He shouts that fate has finally given them a way out, believing the egg is their ticket to salvation. He immediately orders his men to move out and quickly. He tells the others to group up and head down to the basement garage. Down in the dark garage, armed with new flash teleportation skills, he cuts through zombies while blinking toward the glowing egg. Standing next to it, he watches the shell glow with shifting, colorful lights. He summons his time wheel phantom beast, Mingzio, to ask for his opinion. The beast senses the aura for a brief moment before his eyes suddenly widen. He reveals that this aura belongs to a rare triple S-rank beast spirit. Pleased with the news, he immediately bites his finger to smear blood on it. The contract is complete. He quickly spins around to face the oncoming threat. He instantly decapitates several zombies that are attempting to ambush him from behind. With a few massive area attacks, he wipes the entire underground floor clean. Without even realizing it, he has eliminated every single monster in this garage. Right on cue, the vibrant egg finally begins to crack and hatch. With a sharp cracking sound, a brilliant ball of light bursts outward. The light merges directly into his chest, and a tiny fox appears. Its soft white fur is covered with striking, colorful patterns. These beautiful markings run elegantly along its neck, back, and tiny legs. He checks its stats: Kaleido Spirit Fox, Illusion Type, Triple S rank. Currently at Tier 1, the adorable creature happily wags its tail. She snuggles close, licking his cheek until he laughs that it tickles. Gently stroking the fox, he wonders what its illusion attribute actually does. Mingzio steps forward to explain the unique mechanics of her powers. She can manipulate mental energy to disrupt enemies and vastly expand his perception. Hearing this, he immediately understands how useful this new ability is. He asks if this sensory boost allows him to detect other high-rank beasts. Ming Xiao admits he has no idea, since he is not an illusion type. He points at the Kaleido spirit fox, telling him he must ask her directly instead. Suddenly, urgent shouting and heavy footsteps echo from the nearby stairwell. People are yelling to hurry up, their chaotic voices getting louder by the second. Hearing the chaotic noise, Ming Xiao vanishes back into his space instantly. The Kaleido spirit fox also slips away silently, leaving absolutely no trace behind. When Xiao Nairo leads his squad into the basement, they stare in disbelief. The ground is littered with dead zombies, their heads ripe for harvesting. By clearing the upper floors, Xiao Nairo had already reached Tier 2. But the gap to reach Tier 3 is incredibly massive. Even pooling every core from his team wouldn't be enough to level up. He was completely stuck, desperately searching for a massive payload of energy. Seeing this ocean of corpses, his eyes light up with pure greed. He estimates at least 100 cores are waiting to be claimed. This is exactly the jackpot he needs to finally break through to Tier 3. He barks orders to his men, telling them to start harvesting immediately. One eager subordinate rushes ahead, drawing a dagger to carve open a skull. Before his blade lands, a bone spike suddenly flies out from the darkness. It pierces straight through the subordinate's wrist, pinning him. He screams in agony, clutching his bloody arm as the entire squad freezes. He screams in agony, clutching his arm. Everyone else stops dead in their tracks. What they are doing and turn to look in the direction the bone spike came from. Jin Qiao calls out to them mildly, asking if it is not a bit rude for them to brazenly take his crystal cores as he slowly walks toward the group. That bone spike was actually shot by him. He just wanted to try out his illusion type ability, since it was about controlling mental power he first tried. Telekinesis, casually pulling out a zombie leg bone and launching it as a bone spike piercing through that lackey's wrist. Even now the bone spike is still firmly stuck in his hand. He is quite satisfied with the strike. If he could advance, the effect would definitely be stronger, but he will probably have to try out other illusion-type abilities later. Chenil and the others see him and the colorful little fox on his shoulder. One of the subordinates feels a sense of familiarity, thinking it looks like the egg they had discovered. Suddenly, he freezes. Could it be that the egg they found has been contracted by this kid? Someone calls his name, asking how it could be him. He is startled. He remembers that voice clearly, even if he died. He looks at the person who spoke, and his expression instantly darkens. Wai Song, that heartless boss who exploited him and then fired him. Wai Song, seeing that it is his timid employee from before the apocalypse, immediately relaxes significantly. He grins oily and tells him that, oh, it is little Jin Chual, that this makes things easy, telling him to come quickly and hand over his beast spirit to brother Chenil. He urges him. He answers without any politeness, saying that he earned this beast spirit with his own strength, and asking why he should just give it to him because he says so, and what he is to him. Anyway, Wai Song shifts into a sugary tone, telling him that, oh, this is where he was wrong, that they are all compatriots, and that helping each other out is only right, is it not? Moreover, he continues that with Jin Qial's personality, he does not deserve to possess a beast spirit at all, and that handing it over to brother Chenil and letting him lead them all to escape would be a better method. Now that the world has ended, he sermonizes, they should unite and help each other to forge a beautiful future. Wai Song has begun his usual brainwashing speech, just like he often did at the factory. Wai Song begins to introduce Chenil, who is standing beside him. He asks Jin Chual if he knows him, then says he is none other than the mayor of their city, Mr. Chenil, also known as Brother Chenil. Listening to Wai Song's introduction, Jin Chual turns his gaze to Chenil, who is puffing out his chest with an arrogant expression. Seeing him turn his Head to look at him, Chenil feels even more confident. He knows that as mayor. He is not someone just anyone can meet. He looks at the little fox on his shoulder and asks, feigning curiosity, where the young man got that creature. On his shoulder, he answers while stroking the colorful fox's chin that he just saw a colorful egg nearby and casually contracted it. However, Chenil's expression at this moment becomes as ugly as if he had eaten dirt, just from the description. That colorful egg was clearly extraordinary and had long been considered his own, but then suddenly some brat came and snatched his possession. He cannot accept this, but he cannot show it directly. He still needs to maintain his mayoral demeanor. But before Chenil can speak again, Jin Chial, he interrupts him, declaring it is his turn to ask how long he and boss Wai Song have known each other. Chenil wonders why he asks, but the kid knows Wai Song is a ruthless tyrant, abusing workers and escaping punishment. It makes no sense without powerful backing. In fact, he had recently caught wind of a nasty rumor regarding a former employee. This particular worker had grown so desperate that he sued Wai Song's factory. Yet the court threw the case out, falsely claiming he lied. Not only did the poor employee lose, but they also threw him in jail, only to ambush him on his release night. A pack of hired thugs dragged him into an alley and beat him into a coma. Wai Song reportedly paid off the thugs, and they got off with nothing but a brief warning. Just a few days of detention. It was complete, lawless garbage. Seeing Wai Song introduce Chenil, a wild theory suddenly clicks in his mind. Could this corrupt boss and the mayor be working together? As mayor, he easily has the power to shield a few shady factories, pull a few strings, and kill any pesky lawsuits. Chenil flinches for a split second before returning to his calm, relaxed smile. He agrees to tell him the story, instantly making Wai Song break out in a cold sweat. The boss only dared to act so proud because Chenil was protecting him. Wai Song only had to funnel half of his massive, illegal factory profits straight to him, making sure they never caught the eye of any investigators. They had been rolling in dirty cash for years. But if Chenil talks now, this kid might go completely feral. Even though the young man is outnumbered 4-1, Wai Song is terrified. He is certain they would win a fight, but he still desperately wants to avoid a clash. After all, he is the only one here who actually provoked the kid. If the kid decides to take someone down to hell with him, it is over. Panic-stricken, Wai Song tries to pull Chenil back, but the mayor snaps. Wai Song's desperate look begs him to shut up. The mayor realizes Wai Song was this kid's boss and had bullied him. Wai Song has crushed plenty of lives, and this kid wants revenge. So asking about their connection was just a clever trap. He is only trying to bait the mayor into talking. How naive, Chenil thinks, a smug smirk forming. He smoothly lies, claiming he met boss Wai Song after the apocalypse. Back then, he says, they teamed up to slay zombies in a building. The mayor even drapes a friendly arm over Wai Song's shoulder, putting on a perfect show. But the young man knows the mayor is lying through his teeth. Even though it was incredibly subtle, he caught a clear, telling shift in Chenil's voice. If he were telling the truth, he would not have reacted at all. The ugly truth is already glaringly obvious, even if this mayor is an expert at lying. Still, the young man has indirectly got the exact confirmation he needed. Narrowing his eyes, he knows Chenil is definitely a corrupt snake. Wai Song must have been following him long before the apocalypse. How else could a simple factory boss have such absolute, untouchable protection? Since he loves playing this little game, he will see how long the mayor can keep it up. In a flash, he teleports right in front of Wai Song and drives a fist forward. Hard into his face, before Wai Song can even react, he gets slammed straight to the dirt. The other two beast spirit subordinates see this and prepare to jump in. But Chenil stops them with a single sharp glare. After dropping Wai Song, the kid turns to Chenil with a chuckle, saying that the mayor has a bad apple here. He makes it crystal clear that he holds a massive grudge against Wai Song. There is no hiding his desire to teach this guy a lesson. To keep up appearances of fairness, Chanil cannot easily take sides. Still, the mayor does not think his man will actually end up dead. To him, a weak, nameless kid from before the apocalypse cannot change overnight. Even if the kid knows the old world laws are dead and gone, he surely would not transform into a cold-blooded killer this quickly. Plus, this subordinate of his possesses a strong contracted beast spirit. Even if the kid strikes hard, the beast spirit should block any fatal blow. So Chanil acts generous, saying that this really shows poor judgment. He tells our main character to go ahead and teach him a lesson. Just do not take it too far, but before the mayor can finish. The kid spins around and throws another brutal punch at Wysong. This strike utilizes spatial power, completely blowing Wysong's head to pieces. He casually asks, "What did you just say?" with the man dead. He looks back at Chanil. Seeing such ruthless action, the mayor stands frozen. His warnings die right in his throat, leaving him completely speechless. Chanil tries to stay calm. At least the beast spirit can be saved. He can simply hand it over to another subordinate, but then a phantom fox suddenly appears behind the kid and devours the spirit whole. Now Chanil completely loses his mind, and honestly, who wouldn't? Not only did this kid kill his man, but he also stole the spirit. A valuable treasure Chanil worked so hard to find. He is a mayor, damn it. People are supposed to show him respect and save his precious face. If he did not need his Klein image, he would have killed him. Even his subordinates stand there, with their mouths wide open. They have never seen a beast spirit phantom manifest like this before. But there is zero time to grieve. The guy impaled earlier by the bone has already turned into a brain-hungry zombie and is on the loose. He bites a dazed subordinate, causing the poor guy to scream in agony. Someone yells that he is infected, while others scream to kill him. The crowd swarms forward, beating both of them into a bloody pulp. With the danger gone, Chanil has no desire to stay here. He prepares to lead his surviving men back inside the main building, all while secretly plotting a way to steal the kid's beast spirit. Suddenly, Chunky clutches his head and groans in deep pain. He tells his brother that his head feels incredibly weird right now. Chanil asks if he is just suffering from a bad night of sleep. Chunky mutters that it is not that, right before a loud bang rings out. His head explodes like a balloon, scattering blood and brain matter everywhere. Looming over everyone, the crowd stands completely frozen as Chinky's beast spirit peeks out from his body before being swallowed whole by the giant fox behind him. Chinky's head exploding was his doing. No ally of Chanil could ever be innocent. He decided to use this corrupt confidant to test out his brand new ability. He targeted Chinky with mental power, gathering a massive wave of invisible energy. It swirled around his target. Boom, his head exploded as his beast spirit emerged. Watching another subordinate's beast spirit get devoured, Chanil's eyes widen in absolute rage. He points a trembling finger at the young man, roaring that he did it, demanding to know if he is guilty. He warns him not to do whatever he wants just because of his power. He threatens that the moment the official arrives, he will report him for his crimes. But get this, after hearing that threat, he simply curls his lips into a faint smirk. Finally, the act is over, completely over.